Alright, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK. And as I've shared before, I've been running for a very long time, but unfortunately over most of that time I've come to the conclusion that I've been running too hard too often. And I've noticed that probably more than anywhere else over the past decade, as I've been too often more sore, more tired, more injury prone, and really just inconsistent with my running because of lack of motivation as a result. And then this past summer I discovered the MAF training method, which really has rejuvenated my running. And I've talked about what MAF is, how it works, and what to expect with this training method. If you haven't watched that video yet, I would suggest that you go and check it out first. I'll put a link up here in the upper right hand corner. And then after you've seen that, come back and check this video out, because in today's video I'm going to share with you how I have personally benefited from the MAF training method over the past 7 months. So let's get to it. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I have personally benefited from 7 months of MAF, or maximum aerobic function training, developed by Dr. Phil Maffetone. And I think if there's one big takeaway that I've had from this, and that would be is what easy running truly is and what it really feels like. You've probably heard, if you've been running for any period of time, the benefit and the importance of easy running as part of your training plan, where the majority of your training should be done at an easy effort. And what really is an easy effort? This method has really helped to teach me what that looks like, what it feels like, more than anything else I've ever tried. Some of the benefits that I've personally experienced as a result of that is that I have quicker and more complete recoveries from my runs, which in turn then allows me to run more frequently, and also I'm running longer each time I go out and run. So now I'm seeing the type of running volume that I haven't seen in over a decade, types of miles that I used to run when I was much younger and was more able to recover from pushing myself perhaps too hard. And what does that look like? Well, I'm running more 40-mile weeks than I have in a long time, and more often. I am running more 100+ mile months, another measure that I have kind of observed over the years. One of the things as a result of this is I have now kind of renewed hopes that I can actually return to marathon running, something that I enjoy very much. In fact, I am training for the Cleveland Marathon this spring, and I'll once again point to the upper right hand corner to a video that I did where I talk through my current training plan for that particular marathon, if you find that to be a topic of interest. One of the things that really surprised me with the MAF training method is last fall, in the middle of October, I actually checked off one of my bucket list items, which was to run an ultra marathon. Over the past decade or so, I've had multiple attempts training for an actual marathon, and have always had to bail out because of injury or setbacks, etc. And so I actually lost hope of ever realistically being able to run an ultra marathon. And after starting the MAF training method at the end of June, beginning of July, in roughly three and a half months, I was at a place where I could actually run and complete my first ever self-supported ultra marathon, which is huge, which is a testament in its own right to the MAF method for me. One of the things that I've done with the MAF training method as well is really strive to cut out most sugars and soda and processed foods when I have an alternative choice available to me. And as a result, I have found myself having less cravings during the day, less cravings at night. And I've also experienced losing about 8 to 10 pounds over the past 7 months, which may or may not sound like a lot. I don't personally consider myself as someone who has a lot of extra weight they're carrying around or losing. I would say when I started this, I could probably lose 10 to 20 pounds and still kind of be healthy and fit and all that sort of thing. And so to lose 10 pounds in 7 months is quite a bit. And I know of other people following this method who have lost significantly more. And so that is also a benefit of this training method. One of the other things that you can expect with the MAF training is you slow down, you actually shorten your stride and you have a lower cadence. Not necessarily something that you might think of off the top of your hand, but one of the things that I noticed in wearing my heart rate monitor is one of the other metrics that it captures is your cadence or your average cadence during your run, and I noticed that it was down around 160. And typically, you know, all the elites and Olympic athletes, they have found no matter what distance, they roughly run around 180. And I know from, you know, a few past examples, I know I was at least in the 170s, mid to 170s, 180. So I was a little discouraged to see 160, but that wasn't the primary focus. I really wanted to commit to the process. I really wanted to let the process work. And I was really focusing on what the feel of running easy truly was following this method. If that meant slowing down and walking, that's what it meant. If it meant walking up hills, that's what it meant. But after 7 months, I kind of kept my eye on this whole cadence metric, and I've noticed that gradually over time as I've gotten more comfortable, more relaxed, that my turnover is gradually increasing, and in 6 months I've actually seen my average cadence increase by 6 strides per minute, up to about 166 average. So that's encouraging. That means it's heading in the right direction of what you'd hope and what you'd expect. Now I think some of the big questions that myself and others who have tried this training method have had is, will it get easier? Because we noted that it gets very frustrating at first when you're running that slow. Will I be less frustrated? I can say yes to both of those. I've gotten more comfortable with it. I'm feeling and experiencing the benefits, so I'm certainly a supporter and a fan of this training approach. But the real big question is, will I get faster? And I can tell you that over the past 7 months, my average pace per mile has improved by about 30 to 45 seconds per mile running at my MAF target. And in a future video, I'm actually going to talk about the MAF test that I perform every month so that I can kind of measure my progress with this method. I think it's important, especially to help combat that frustration, is to have some sort of method to measure improvement to answer this question. I'm also now transitioning into the 80-20 approach, where 80% of my time is at this MAF low heart rate, and 20% is where I'm introducing speed work and harder efforts back into my training. And I'm curious to see how those, how this whole thing works after committing to a base period of building up my maximum aerobic function and continuing using that approach for my easy efforts. And I'll revisit this topic on how the MAF training has personally benefited me in my time following it. So here's my question of the day. If you've been using the MAF training method, how long have you been using it? And what are some of the benefits that you've personally experienced from it? And if you are new to the MAF training method, this is the first time you're hearing of it, just like it was new to me just 7 months ago after running for over 3.5 decades. What questions do you have? And if you put those in the comments below, then I and other members here of the Keep Running community, we can share comments and feedback to really help answer those questions and share with you how we've benefited and what our experiences have been. And I appreciate all of your comments. One is I get to know you better, and again, I want to foster kind of that community dynamic where we can really share those running insights within one another so we can keep learning. We can share training tips that will really help us to keep growing. and ultimately motivational ideas and support that helps us to keep running. You know, at the end of the day, I think the body is extremely resilient and it is capable of continuing to adapt. And that really is what you are committing to when you engage the MAF training method. It's a body change, it's a mindset change, it's a diet change, it's a lifestyle change. And I think it's all for the good. I think it's all for a better long-term, healthier lifestyle. It has definitely helped me to develop a greater aerobic capacity, and I feel great. I feel the best I have felt in many years when it comes to my running. And by monitoring my heart rate in this manner and making these adjustments, I'm definitely gotten more in touch with the stress factors during my running and outside of my running that have affected my overall personal health. If you've liked this video and you found value in it, please smash the like button, as they say. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and come back and check out some of my other videos, and stay tuned for an upcoming video that I mentioned, where I'll actually be performing a math test and talking about how you do this each month, so you have those checkpoints to measure the improvement that you make as you follow this method. Until then, good luck with your training and keep running.